The cold was killing them. Commander Vex Thara pressed her scaled hand against the frozen metal wall of her ship and felt nothing. The heating systems had failed 3 hours ago. Now the temperature inside the bridge was dropping fast, and her people were dying. She looked around the command center. Her crew sat at their stations, barely moving. Their reptilian bodies were shutting down. The Drakari came from hot desert worlds, where 3 suns baked the sand. This frozen moon, called Varos 7, was the opposite of everything they had evolved for. The cold seeped into their bones and made their blood slow. Soon, it would stop completely. "Commander." Her communications officer croaked. His voice was weak. "Still no response to our distress signal. After the news day, and found it is time, and why? He stake no, to distake, and Wanheims, to mander, to do, to RD. To mander his no." Vexthara nodded slowly. She expected this. They were in lawless space, far from any trade routes. Pirates and smugglers used this area because nobody else came here. The chances of rescue were almost zero. She walked to the main viewing port and stared outside. Snow fell in thick waves, blown by winds that screamed across the frozen landscape. Somewhere out there, buried in the same snowdrift, was the second Drakari ship. The warship, Crimson Fang, lay chained to her own vessel, the Steel Talon. Both dragons were grounded, trapped, dying together. The chains were the worst part. Electromagnetic restraints connected the 2 ships like prisoners bound together. These chains came from the pirate vessel that had ambushed them 2 days ago. The pirates thought they could capture 2 Drakari warships and sell them. It was a bold plan, and it almost worked. The fight had been short, but brutal. The pirate ship used illegal weapons, things banned by every civilized government in the galaxy. The restraint chains shot out and wrapped around both Drakari vessels before they could dodge. Then, the pirates made their mistake. They got too close. War Leader Cross had fired every weapon the Steel Talon had left. The pirate ship exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the darkness of space, but the dying ship fell toward the moon below, and the chains dragged both Drakari vessels down with it. They crashed hard. The pirate ship broke apart completely. The Steel Talon and Crimson Fang survived, but barely. And now, they were stuck. The electromagnetic chains were still active, still draining power from both ships. Every time they tried to break free, the chains pulled tighter and drained more energy. Vexthara had done the calculations. They had maybe 2 more days before the power ran out completely. Then, the cold would finish what the crash started. "Commander." It was Cross. The war leader dragged himself onto the bridge, leaving a trail of dark blood behind him. His right arm hung useless at his side, crushed during the crash. "The engineering team says we cannot break the chains. Every attempt makes them stronger." "I know," Vexthara said. She helped him to a seat. Cross was her oldest friend. They had served together for 15 years. She would not let him die here, in the cold and dark. "The crew of the Crimson Fang?" she asked. "Worse than us. Their life support failed first. Commander Reth says, they have hours, not days." Vexthara closed her eyes. 200 Drakari warriors across both ships. 200 of the Empire's finest. And she could not save them. The thought made her want to roar in anger. But she had no energy left for that. "At least we died fighting," Cross said quietly. "The Empire will remember us." "The Empire will never know," Vexthara replied. "Our distress signal is too weak. It will not reach home." They sat in silence. Around them, the ship groaned as ice formed on its hull. The temperature continued to drop. Then something changed. "Commander." The sensor officer suddenly sat up straight. "Movement outside. Something is moving through the snow." Vexthara rushed to the sensor station. It took effort. Her legs were so cold they barely worked. She looked at the screen. There, Among the chaos of the storm, a single dot moved. It was small. It was heading toward them. "What is it?" Cross asked. "Unknown. The sensors are damaged. I cannot get a clear reading." The sensor officer adjusted his controls with shaking hands. "It is too small to be a ship, but too large to be an animal. And nothing lives on this moon. Nothing can survive these temperatures." "Show me visual," Vexthara ordered. The main screen flickered to life. The view was terrible. The storm blocked most of their cameras, but through the swirling snow, they saw it. A figure. Walking. Moving toward their ship with steady steps. "Impossible," Cross whispered. It was impossible. The temperature outside was more than 100 degrees below freezing. The winds were strong enough to tear metal. Nothing could survive out there. Nothing should be moving. Well, one. But something was. The figure came closer. It was small compared to a Drakari. Maybe half their size. It wore some kind of suit. White like the snow. The suit had a helmet, and through the frosted glass, they could see a face. A strange face, with soft features and forward-facing eyes. "What species is that?" Vexthara demanded. "Unknown, Commander. It is not in our database." The creature stopped at the base of their ship. It looked up at them, though Vexthara did not know if it could see them through the storm. Then it did something completely unexpected. It walked to the electromagnetic chains. The crew watched in stunned silence as the small figure examined the chains that bound their ships. It moved with purpose, like it understood what it was looking at. It pulled tools from its suit and began working. "Is it trying to free us?" the communications officer asked. "Or finish us off," Cross muttered. "We do not know if it is friendly." Vexthara made a decision. She opened all communication channels and spoke into the microphone. "Unknown creature. Can you understand me? We are Drakari. We are trapped here. Can you help us?" For a long moment, there was nothing. Just static and the howl of the wind. Then a voice came through the speakers. It was strange. Speaking a language the computer struggled to translate. But the words came through, clearly enough. "Name's Jack. I'm human. Hold tight. I think I can get you out of this. Human." Vexthara searched her memory. She had never heard of this species. The database had no information about them, but here one was, standing in temperatures that should kill any living thing, trying to help them. "Why are you helping us?" she asked. "You do not know us. We could be dangerous." Another pause. Then the human spoke again. His voice sounded tired but determined. "Because you need help. That's reason enough." Vexthara looked at Cross. The war leader's eyes were wide with surprise. In Drakari culture, no one helped strangers without expecting something in return. Honor required payment. Debts required settlement. But this human seemed to operate on different rules. Outside, the small figure in white continued working on the chains. The storm raged around it. The cold that was killing the Drakari did not seem to bother it at all. Vexthara watched and wondered what kind of species could survive in such conditions. What kind of world must they come from? What kind of evolution created something that walked through killing cold like it was nothing? She did not have answers. But for the first time in 2 days, she felt something she thought was gone forever. Hope. Jack Morrison had been cold before, but this was something else. 6 days ago, his survey ship Wanderer dropped out of faster-than-light travel right into a debris field. The small exploration vessel took damage before he could react. Systems failed one after another, like falling dominoes. He managed to crash land on the nearest moon, but the ship was dead. No power, no communications, no way to call for help. The survival manual said to stay with your ship and wait for rescue. But Jack knew nobody was coming. This was uncharted space. Earth's colonial fleet would not even notice he was missing for weeks. By then, his supplies would be gone. So, he made a choice. His damaged sensors picked up large metallic objects 40 kilometers away. Maybe a ship, maybe a colony, maybe nothing. But sitting still meant death. So Jack packed what he could carry and started walking. That was 6 days ago. Now his supplies were almost gone. His suit's heating system was working overtime, burning through power cells faster than he liked. His legs ached. His head hurt from the stimulant pills he had been taking to stay awake. But he kept moving because that was what humans did. They kept moving. When he finally saw the crashed ships through the storm, Jack felt relief flood through him. Ships meant people. People meant help. Maybe they had working communications. Maybe they could call for rescue. Then he got closer and saw the chains. He recognized the technology immediately. Electromagnetic restraints. Illegal in most of human space, and probably everywhere else too. The ships were trapped, and from the way ice covered their hulls, they had been here for a while. Jack stood in the snow and made another choice. He could try to find a way inside and ask for help, or he could help them first. It was not really a choice. Not for him. He walked to the chains and began examining them. The design was crude, but effective. The restraints fed off the ship's own power systems. The more the ships tried to break free, the stronger the chains became. It was a nasty piece of work. That was when the voice came over his suit's radio. Deep and rough, speaking words his translator chip struggled with. But the meaning came through. They were asking for help. "Name's Jack. I'm human." The voice asked why he was helping them. Jack found the question strange. Why would he not help? They were in trouble. He was here. That was all the reason he needed. He got to work. The chains could not be shut off normally. Their control system was probably on the destroyed pirate ship, scattered across the moon in a million frozen pieces. But Jack did not need to shut them off. He just needed to break them. The restraints drew power from the ships. So if he fed them too much power too fast, they would overload. Simple idea. Hard to do. Jack pulled power cells from his suit. Each cell was small but packed with energy. Earth's technology was not the most advanced in the galaxy, but humans were good at making things that worked in terrible conditions. These power cells could function in extreme heat or extreme cold. They had to. Earth was not a gentle planet. He connected the cells to the chain's power intake. It took time. His hands were clumsy in the thick gloves. The wind kept blowing tools out of his grip. But he worked steadily, one connection at a time. The voice came again over the radio. "Female," he thought, though it was hard to tell with alien voices. She told him her name was Vex Thara. She was the commander of one ship. She wanted to know more about humans. "Not much to tell," Jack said as he worked. "We're from a planet called Earth. Third rock from a yellow star. We're pretty new to space travel compared to most species, I guess." "Your home world," Vex Thara said. Jack laughed. "Depends where you are. We've got deserts hot enough to cook eggs on rocks, frozen poles where the temperature drops to -60, jungles so humid you can barely breathe, mountains so high the air is too thin, oceans that go down kilometers." There was silence. Then another voice, male and angry. "Your world is a nightmare. We call it home," Jack replied. He finished the last connection and checked his work. The setup looked good. Dangerous, but good. "Okay. Listen, this is going to cause a power surge. It might damage your systems, but if we don't do this, you're dead anyway. Your call, Commander." More silence. Jack could almost hear them talking among themselves. Debating. He did not blame them. He was a stranger from an unknown species, asking them to trust him with their lives. Finally, Vex Thara spoke. "Do it, human Jack." Jack activated the power cells, all of them at once. Energy flooded into the chains. The electromagnetic field around them began to glow, blue, then white. The restraints started to vibrate. Jack backed away quickly, watching the chains shake and spark. For a terrible moment, nothing happened. The chains held. Jack wondered if he had miscalculated, if the restraints were stronger than he thought. Then they exploded. The blast threw Jack backward into the snow. His ears rang. His vision blurred. The chains shattered into 1,000 pieces of metal and ice that flew in every direction. The ships lurched as they were suddenly freed from the restraints that had held them. Jack tried to stand up. His legs would not work right. Something was wrong with his suit. He looked down and saw the problem. The power cells were gone, used up in the overload. But worse, the connections he had made had fried his suit's power system. The heating elements were dead. Cold rushed in immediately. Jack had been cold before. He grew up in Montana where winter meant real winter. He trained in Earth's Arctic survival program. He knew cold, but this was different. This was cold that killed. He could feel it seeping through his suit, through his clothes, into his skin. His fingers went numb. His legs stopped responding. He fell to his knees in the snow. This was bad. This was very bad. He tried to move toward his ship. If he could reach the Wanderer, maybe he could find spare power cells. But Wanderer was 40 kilometers away, and he could barely move 40 meters. The math was simple and brutal. Jack Morrison had saved them, and now he was going to die. He heard the voice again. Vex's Thera. She was shouting something. He could not make out the words anymore. His translator chip was failing, along with everything else. The cold was in his bones now. His vision darkened at the edges. He saw movement. Large shapes coming toward him through the snow. They were big, much bigger than humans. Reptilian faces with sharp teeth, scales, and claws. Any other time, Jack might have been scared. But he was too cold to feel fear. Strong hands grabbed him, lifted him, carried him. He wanted to tell them to be careful, that his suit was damaged, that the cold was dangerous. But he could not make his mouth work anymore. Everything went dark. The last thing Jack thought before he passed out was that at least he had helped them. Whatever happened to him now, at least they were free. At least they had a chance. That was enough. It had to be enough. Commander Vexathara watched her crew carry the human inside the steel talon. The small creature was unconscious, its body temperature dropping fast. She had never seen anything like it. The human was tiny compared to her people. No scales, no claws, no natural armor. But it had walked through temperatures that killed Drakari in minutes. It had worked with tools while the storm tried to tear it apart. It had saved them without asking for anything in return. Get him to medical, she ordered. Do everything you can to keep him alive. Her crew rushed to obey. Vexthara turned to Cross. The war leader was already moving toward engineering. His injured arm. Forgotten. We launch as soon as possible, she said. We owe this human his life. I will not let him die on this frozen rock. Cross nodded. Agreed. The human saved us. Honor demands we save him. The steel talon shuddered as its engines came to life. After 2 days of silence, the warship began to wake. Power flowed through damaged systems. Engines warmed up. The ship prepared to fly. In the medical bay, the human lay on a table surrounded by confused Drakari doctors. They had no idea how to treat this species. But they would try. They had to try. Vexthara stood on her bridge and made a silent promise. Whatever it took, wherever they had to go, she would get this human home, safely. It was a debt of honor. And the Drakari always paid their debts. Sira had been a doctor for 20 years. She had treated injuries from battles, diseases from a dozen worlds, and poisons that should have killed her patients 3 times over. But she had never treated a human before. She did not even know what a human was until 10 minutes ago. Now one lay on her medical table, and she had no idea how to save it. Temperature is still dropping, her assistant said. Down to 34 degrees, standard. Sira checked her medical database again. Nothing. The computer had information on hundreds of species, but humans were not in the files. She was working blind, trying to treat an alien with biology she did not understand. The human was small, maybe 60 kilograms, which was tiny compared to a Drakari warrior. No scales protected its skin. No natural armor. The body looked soft and weak, but it had survived on Varos 7 where Drakari could not. That meant something. Bring more thermal blankets, Sira ordered. If the cold is killing it, we fight the cold. They wrapped the human in heating blankets designed for Drakari. The little creature disappeared under the layers. Sira watched the monitors. The temperature stopped dropping but did not rise. The human was alive but not recovering. Heart rate is erratic, the assistant said. Blood pressure is low. I think it is going into shock. Sira made a decision. She injected the human with a mild stimulant, something that worked on most carbon-based life forms. Then she added a supplement that helped with circulation. She was guessing, trying things that might work, hoping she did not make things worse. Minutes passed like hours. The medical bay was silent except for the beeping of monitors. Outside, the ship shook as the engines struggled to life. They had to launch soon. Every moment they stayed on Varos 7 was another moment the cold could kill them all. Then the human's eyes opened. Sira jumped back. She had not expected it to wake so quickly. The human looked around, confused. Its eyes were strange, blue like ice, forward-facing, like a predator. They focused on her, and for a moment, Sira felt like prey. "Where am I?" the human asked. The translator worked now, turning the alien sounds into words Sira could understand. "You are aboard the Steel Talon," Sira said carefully. "I am Dr. Sira. You saved us. We are trying to save you. Number 2. We hard doer." The human tried to sit up. Sira pushed it back down gently. "No. You must rest. Your body temperature was dangerously low. You still need to warm up." "Roun. How long was I out?" Jack asked. 20 minutes. Maybe less." Jack laughed. It was a strange sound, almost like coughing. "That's all? Feels like hours." He looked down at himself, wrapped in blankets. "Thanks for patching me up, Doc. I owe you one." Sira did not understand. The human should be barely conscious. Instead, it was talking and joking. "How are you awake? The stimulant I gave you was very mild. It should not work so fast. Built tough, I guess." Jack managed a weak smile. "Where I come from? You learn to bounce back quick. Takes more than a little cold to keep a human down. A little cold." Sira wanted to laugh or scream. The temperature outside would have killed her in minutes. The Drakari were freezing even inside their ship. But this human called it a little cold. "Your species," Sira said slowly. "You are adapted for extreme environments. You could say that. Earth is not an easy planet. Hot in some places, cold in others. We learned to live everywhere. Deserts, tundras, jungles, mountains, you name it. Humans probably built a home there." The ship suddenly lurched. The engines roared. Gravity shifted as the Steel Talon began to lift off. Sira grabbed the medical table to steady herself. Jack just lay there, still too weak to move much. "We are launching," Sira said. "Commander Vex Thara wants to get us away from this moon before we lose more power." "Good call," Jack said. "Varos 7 is not a friendly place. Trust me, I walked across 40 kilometers of it." 40 kilometers? Sira could not believe it. "In that cold? How?" Jack shrugged under the blankets. "One step at a time. Did not have much choice. My ship crashed. Staying put meant dying. So I started walking. Saw your ships on sensors, and figured you might have working communications. You walked across this frozen wasteland to ask for help," Sira said. "And instead, you helped us." "Yeah, well, You looked like you needed it more than me. The ship shook again. Alerts flashed on the medical bay screens. Sira heard Commander Vexthara's voice over the intercom. All crew, prepare for emergency ascent. We are breaking atmosphere in 2 minutes. Sira strapped the human down to the medical table. Safety protocols. The ascent might be rough. Hold on, human Jack. This could be uncomfortable. Call me Jack. Just Jack. He looked up at her with those ice-blue eyes. And I have been uncomfortable for 6 days. I can handle 2 more minutes. The steel talon climbed. The engines screamed. Metal groaned under stress. The ship had been damaged in the crash. Systems that should be working were broken. Systems that should be broken somehow still functioned. It was a miracle they were flying at all. In the medical bay, Sira watched her instruments and prayed to gods she did not really believe in. The human needed to stay warm. Its temperature was still too low. If they lost power now, if the heating failed again, Jack would die. After everything, after saving them all, the human would die. But the engines held. The power stayed on. The ship punched through Veros 7's thin atmosphere and reached space. The shaking stopped. Gravity stabilized. They were free. Sira felt tears in her eyes. She did not cry often. Drakari doctors were taught to stay calm, to keep emotions controlled. But she cried now. They were alive. All of them. Because of this small, strange creature wrapped in blankets on her table. We did it, she whispered. You guys did the hard part, Jack said. I just gave you a push. Commander Vexthara entered the medical bay. The tall Drakari warrior looked tired. Her scales were dull from cold and stress. But she stood straight, her posture proud. She looked at Jack, and her expression was difficult to read. Human, she said. You are awake. Getting there, Jack replied. Thanks for the lift. Literally. You saved my ship and my crew. I owe you a debt of honor that I cannot repay. Vexthara moved closer. I am Commander Vexthara of the Drakari Empire. What you did today will not be forgotten. Just did what anyone would do, Jack said. No. Vexthara's voice was firm. Not anyone. Most species would have stayed hidden. They would have watched us die and then scavenged our ships. You helped us without knowing who we were or if we were dangerous. You risked your life for strangers. Jack looked uncomfortable. Yeah. Well, could not just leave you there. Jack looked to Munning. Why? The question came from Cross. The war leader had followed Vexthara into the medical bay. His injured arm was bandaged now. Why help enemies you do not even know? You were not enemies. You were just people in trouble. We could have killed you, Cross pressed. We could have taken you prisoner. We still could. Why trust us? Jack thought about it. His answer was simple. Because trust has to start somewhere. And I figured anyone trapped and dying on an ice ball probably was not going to waste energy being hostile. Cross stared at him. Then he laughed. It was a harsh, barking sound. You are either very brave or very foolish. Human. Little bit of both, probably. Vexthara turned to Sira. How is he? Can he travel? He needs rest, Sira said. But his recovery is faster than I expected. Much faster. This species seems to heal quickly. Good. Vexthara looked at Jack again. We will take you home, human Jack. Where is your home world? Jack told them the coordinates. Vexthara's eyes widened. That is far. We are damaged. The journey will take weeks. I can wait, Jack said. Not like I have anywhere else to be. Then it is settled. Vexthara straightened. Set course for human space. And send a message ahead. Tell them we are bringing one of theirs home. Tell them what he did for us. She paused at the door. Rest, Jack Morrison. You have earned it. And when we reach your people, I will tell them they should be proud. The galaxy needs more beings like you. Jack watched her leave. Then he looked at Sira. She is intense. Sira laughed. She is Drakari. We are all intense. But she means what she says. You have made a powerful friend today, Jack Morrison. Just Jack, he corrected. Then he closed his eyes. The warmth of the blankets was finally reaching him. His body hurt everywhere. But he was alive. They were all alive. Not bad for a day's work. Outside the medical bay, the steel talon moved through space. Behind it, Varos 7 grew smaller. The frozen moon that almost became their grave was now just a dot of white against the black. And somewhere ahead, across the vast distance of space, Earth waited. Home waited. Humanity waited to hear about one man who walked through hell to help strangers. The galaxy was about to learn what it meant to be human. The steel talon limped through space at half speed. The engines worked, but they protested every kilometer. The crash had damaged more systems than the crew first realized. What should have been a 10-day journey would take 3 weeks, maybe more. Jack spent the first 3 days in the medical bay. Sira kept him there, watching him recover. The human healed fast, faster than any species she had treated before. His body temperature returned to normal within hours. The minor frostbite on his fingers disappeared in 2 days. By day 3, he was walking around and asking questions. You should be resting, Sira told him for the 5th time that morning. I have been resting for 3 days, Jack said. I am going crazy in here. Let me walk around. Let me help with something. You are a guest, not crew. I am a guy who fixes things. And from what I hear, this ship has a lot of things that need fixing. Sira wanted to argue, but she saw his point. The human was bored and restless. Keeping him in medical was probably worse for his health than letting him work. Fine. But you stay away from dangerous areas. And if you feel tired, you come back here immediately. Jack grinned. Yes, ma'am. He left the medical bay and began exploring the steel talon. The ship was huge compared to his little survey vessel. Corridors stretched in every direction. The Drakari crew watched him with curiosity as he passed. Some looked suspicious. Others seemed amused. All of them stared. Jack found his way to the engineering section. The room was hot and loud. Massive engines filled the space, pulsing with energy. Drakari workers moved among the machinery, making repairs. The damage from the crash was obvious. Cracked panels, burned circuits, jury-rigged connections that might fail at any moment. One of the engineers noticed Jack. She was smaller than most Drakari, but still taller than him by half a meter. Her scales were dark red. You are the human. That's me. Name is Jack. You need help? She looked surprised. You want to help? You are not crew. I am an engineer. Sort of. I fix things. And you guys have a lot to fix. Jack pointed at a power conduit that was barely holding together. That connection is going to fail. See how the casing is cracked? You need to replace it before it overloads. The engineer examined the conduit. Her eyes widened. You are right. I did not see that. She looked at Jack with new respect. I am Kira, Chief Engineer. If you want to help, I will not stop you. They worked together for hours. Jack quickly learned that Drakari engineering was different from human engineering. The Drakari built things strong and straightforward. Human designs were more compact, more efficient, but also more complicated. Both approaches had strengths. Your species thinks differently than us, Kira said, as they replaced a damaged power relay. We see a problem, and we hit it with force. You see a problem, and you find a clever solution. Different environments, different evolution, Jack said. You guys came from hot desert worlds, right? Plenty of space, plenty of resources. You could build big. Humans come from a crowded planet. We had to learn to do more with less. Your planet sounds difficult. It is. But it made us creative. Jack connected the last wire and stood back. Try it now. Kira activated the relay. Power flowed smoothly. The system that had been failing now worked perfectly. She looked at Jack and nodded. You are good at this, human. Call me Jack. Word spread through the ship. The human could fix things. The human understood engineering. Soon, other crew members started asking Jack for help. He spent his days moving through the steel talon, repairing systems, offering suggestions, learning about Drakari technology. Commander Vexthera watched this from her bridge. She saw how her crew reacted to the human. At first, they had been cautious, even afraid. Humans were unknown. But Jack was friendly. He worked hard. He never complained. And he was good at his job. The human has made himself useful, Cross observed. The war leader stood beside her, his injured arm healing slowly. The crew likes him. I like him too, Vexthara admitted. He is strange, but in a good way. I do not understand his species, Cross said. They have no natural weapons, no armor, no claws or fangs. They are small and soft. How did they survive their own evolution? Vexthara had wondered the same thing. She decided to ask. That evening, she invited Jack to dine with her and her senior officers. It was an honor usually reserved for important guests or visiting dignitaries. Jack seemed embarrassed by the attention. You really did not have to do this, he said as they ate. The food was strange to him. The Drakari ate meat. Lots of meat. Cooked hot and spicy. Jack tried everything, though some of it made his eyes water. You saved us, Vexthara said. This is a small thank you. You are giving me a ride home. That's thanks enough. Cross leaned forward. I have a question, Human Jack. Your species has no natural defenses. How did you become the dominant species on your world? Jack chewed thoughtfully. Tools. Cooperation. Intelligence. We could not outrun predators, so we learned to trap them. We could not outfight bigger animals, so we hunted in groups. We were not the strongest or fastest, but we were smart and stubborn. Stubborn, Vexthara repeated. That is a good word for you. You walked 40 kilometers through a killing storm. That is very stubborn. Giving up meant dying. So I did not give up. We hit problems, and we keep hitting them until they break, or we find a way around them. Croat, your planet must have tested you greatly, Sira said. She had joined them for dinner. To produce a species so determined. Earth is not easy, Jack agreed. We have places so hot, you can die in hours without water. Places so cold you freeze in minutes without protection. Deserts, jungles, mountains, oceans. Hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanoes. Earth has tried to kill humans for millions of years. We are still here because we learned to adapt. Adapt or die, Cross said. The warrior's code. I guess so. We just call it survival. The conversation continued late into the night. Jack told them about Earth, about cities with millions of people, about oceans that covered most of the planet, about forests and mountains and deserts. The Drakari listened, fascinated. In return, they told Jack about their empire, about desert worlds where 3 suns baked the sand, about honor and duty and the warrior code that guided their society, about their history, their wars, their culture. You fight a lot, Jack observed. We are warriors, Cross said proudly. Combat is in our blood. Cross, we hold, but you also help each other. You have honor. That counts for something. Vexthera studied the human. You are very accepting, Jack Morrison. Most species fear what they do not understand. But you seem comfortable with us. You have not given me a reason to be afraid. You could have left me to die. Instead, you brought me aboard. You are feeding me. You are taking me home. That tells me more about you than any words could. It was a simple statement. But it hit hard. Vexthara realized that Jack judged people by their actions, not their appearance or reputation. It was a refreshingly honest way to view the galaxy. Over the following weeks, Jack became part of the crew. He was not officially assigned to any duty, but he worked anyway. He helped in engineering. He assisted in the medical bay. He even spent time on the bridge, learning about Drukhari navigation systems. The crew grew protective of him. When they entered a rough asteroid field, and the ship shook violently, 3 different crew members rushed to make sure Jack was safe. When he caught a mild illness from eating Drukhari food his stomach could not handle, Sira treated him with the same care she would give to her most important patient. "You have adopted the human," Cross told Vexthara one day. "We have," she agreed. "He is one of us now. Small and strange, but ours. The Empire will want to know about his species. Humans could be useful allies." Vexthara nodded. She had already written her report. She described what Jack had done, how he saved them, how he worked alongside her crew, how he represented his species with courage and kindness. But more than that, she wrote about what humans might mean for the galaxy, a species that adapted to anything, that helped others without expecting payment, that solved problems through intelligence and determination rather than force. The galaxy was full of warriors and traders and politicians. Maybe it needed something new. Maybe it needed humans. The Steel Talon crossed into human space 3 weeks after leaving Varos 7. Sensors picked up a small fleet of human ships on patrol. Vexthara opened communications immediately. "This is Commander Vexthara of the Drukhari vessel Steel Talon. We come in peace. We are carrying one of your people, Captain Jack Morrison. He saved our lives, and we are returning him home." There was a pause. Then a human voice responded. Female. "Professional. This is Captain Lisa Grant of the Earth Defense Force. Stand by for verification. And welcome to human space, Commander. We have been expecting you." Jack sat on the bridge, listening. He looked nervous. "You sent a message ahead?" "Of course," Vexthara said. "Your people needed to know you were alive, and they needed to know what you did for us. I just helped some people. You saved 2 ships and 200 warriors. That is more than just helping." The human fleet moved to escort them. They were small ships, nothing like the massive Drukhari warships, but they moved with precision and confidence. Jack watched them with obvious pride. "That is home," he said quietly. "That is my people." Vexthara understood. She felt the same way when she saw Drukhari ships. Home was not just a place. It was the people you belonged to. "Your people should be proud of you, Jack Morrison," she said. "I know I am." Jack looked at her and smiled. "Thanks, Commander. For everything. You did not have to do all this." "Yes, we did. It is a debt of honor, and honor is everything." The human station orbiting Earth's 4th colony world was not large or impressive by galactic standards. It was functional, practical, very human. Vexthara thought it looked like something built by people who expected things to break and had planned accordingly. The Steel Talon docked carefully. The station's bay was just barely large enough for a Drukhari warship. Human engineers worked quickly to secure the connection. Through the viewport, Vexthara could see dozens of humans moving around. They were all so small. It was hard to believe one of these tiny creatures had saved her entire crew. "Ready?" she asked Jack. He stood beside her in his repaired suit. The Drukhari engineers had fixed the damage and even improved it. Jack looked strange, wearing Drukhari technology over his human clothes, like 2 different worlds meeting in one person. "As ready as I will ever be," Jack said. He sounded nervous. "I am not good with crowds. You walked through a frozen hell to help strangers. You can handle a welcome party." The airlock opened. A group of humans waited on the other side. They wore military uniforms and diplomatic clothes. At their head stood a woman with short, dark hair and sharp eyes. She stepped forward and saluted Jack. "Captain Morrison, I am Ambassador Kate Sullivan. On behalf of Earth and the Colonial Authority, welcome home, Jack saluted back awkwardly. Thank you, ma'am. Good to be home. Kate turned to Vexthara. Commander. He saved us first, Vexthara said. We only repaid a debt. Still, we appreciate it. Please. Come inside. We have much to discuss. They moved into the station. Humans stared at the Drakari with open curiosity. Children pointed and whispered. Vexthara noticed they did not seem afraid, just interested. It was refreshing compared to how other species usually reacted to armed Drakari warriors. The conference room was small and cramped by Drakari standards. Vexthara sat carefully in a reinforced chair. Cross and Sira sat beside her. On the other side of the table, Kate Sullivan sat with several other human officials and military officers. Jack sat between the two groups, looking uncomfortable. Do I need to be here for this? I am not really a diplomat. You are the reason we are all here, Kate said gently. Your story needs to be told. But if you want to leave, you can. I will stay, Jack decided. Might as well see this through. Kate activated a holographic display. It showed the Steel Talon and Crimson Fang crashed on Varos 7. Commander, we have reviewed your report. Is everything you described accurate? Every word, Vexthara confirmed. Captain Morrison traveled 40 kilometers through temperatures cold enough to kill my people in minutes. He worked on the restraint chains with damaged equipment. He freed us at the cost of his own survival. Then my crew brought him aboard, and we made the journey here. One of the human officers leaned forward. Captain Morrison, why did you help them? You did not know who they were. They could have been hostile, too. Jack shrugged. They needed help. That was reason enough. The humans exchanged looks. Kate smiled slightly. That is very typical of our species. We have trouble walking away from people in need. It almost got him killed, Vexthara said. If we had been hostile, or if we had not reached him in time, he would have died in the snow. But you were not hostile, Kate said. And you did reach him in time. That speaks well of your people, Commander. Your people interest me, Vexthara admitted. In Drakari culture, we help family and allies. We have honor debts and duty. But Captain Morrison helped strangers for no reason except that it was right. This is unusual in the galaxy. Is it? Kate looked around at her fellow humans. I suppose we take it for granted. We help because we can. Because we should. It is just what we do. Most species do not think this way. Most calculate cost and benefit. They ask what they gain from helping. And what did you gain, Commander? One of the other humans asked. By bringing Jack home? Well, we. Vexthara thought carefully. Honor, respect, the knowledge that we repaid a debt, and perhaps something more. A friendship between our peoples. Kate nodded. We would welcome that friendship. Earth is new to the galactic community. We have much to learn. Having allies like the Drakari would be valuable. The Drakari Empire will hear of this, Vexthara promised. They will hear what your Captain Morrison did. They will hear about human courage and human kindness. I believe this will open doors. 9. The meeting continued for hours. They discussed trade possibilities, cultural exchanges, diplomatic relations. But Vexthara noticed something interesting. The humans did not push for advantage. They did not demand payment for Jack's help. They simply talked about mutual benefit and cooperation, so different from most species. So, refreshingly honest. When the meeting finally ended, Kate pulled Jack aside. You did good out there, Captain. Really good. We are proud of you. I just did my job, Jack said. Your job was to map star systems. Saving alien warships was well beyond your job description. Kate smiled. Take a few weeks off. Rest. Then, we will talk about your next assignment. Next assignment? The galaxy just learned about humans because of you, Jack. We need people like you out there. People who represent the best of what we are. Think about it. Jack nodded slowly. Then he turned to Vexthera. I guess this is goodbye. Guess this is goodbye. For now, Vexthera said. She reached out and placed her scaled hand on his shoulder. The gesture was gentle despite her size. You will always have friends. Among the Drakari, Jack Morrison. If you ever need help, call us. We will come. Same to you, Commander. If you are ever near human space, look me up. I will buy you dinner. Something that does not make my stomach hurt. They both laughed. Then Vexthara and her crew returned to the Steel Talon. The warship undocked from the station and began the long journey home to Drakari space. On the bridge, Cross stood beside Vexthera and watched the human station grow smaller. That was the strangest first contact I have ever experienced. Agreed, but also the best. Vexthara pulled up the data they had collected on humans. Tell me, Cross. What do you think of them? They are weak individually, small. No natural weapons or armor. But they adapt. They endure. They help others, even at cost to themselves. Cross considered. They remind me of us in some ways. But also, very different. Yes. We are warriors. We fight, and we conquer. Humans survive and adapt. They build where we would destroy. They cooperate where we would compete. Vexthera made a note in her report. The galaxy should pay attention to them. Will the Empire listen? They will when they hear my story. 200 Drakari warriors, saved by one small human. It is a good story. And stories spread. She was right. The story did spread. It started in the Drakari Empire. Vexthara gave her report to the High Command. They were skeptical at first. A species that helped strangers for free? That survived in conditions that killed Drakari? It sounded like fiction. But the crew of both the Steel Talon and Crimson Fang confirmed every detail. 200 witnesses could not be wrong. The High Command accepted the report and filed it away. Then someone leaked it to a news network. Within days, the story was everywhere. Human saves Drakari dragons. The headlines read. Pictures of Jack working on the chains appeared alongside images of the crashed warships. The story jumped to other species. Traders heard it at stations. Diplomats discussed it at meetings. Explorer crews shared it during long voyages. Each time, people reacted with surprise. A species that helped strangers? That walked through hell to save people they did not know? It was unusual. Strange. Worth remembering. On Earth, Jack tried to go back to his normal life. But people recognized him now. They wanted to hear his story. They wanted to know about the Drakari. He gave a few interviews, always uncomfortable with the attention. I just helped some people, he said in every interview. Anyone would have done the same, but not anyone would have. That was the point. That was what made the story powerful. Months passed. The Drakari Empire and Earth established formal diplomatic relations. Trade routes opened. Cultural exchanges began. Drakari students came to study at human universities. Human engineers traveled to learn Drakari technology. It was the beginning of something new. A friendship between species. Built on the foundation of one man's simple act of kindness, Jack eventually returned to space. He captained a new ship, a better ship, and continued his work mapping systems and exploring the unknown. Sometimes, he encountered other species. They usually knew his story. You are the human who saved the dragons, they would say. I am a human who helped some people. He would correct them. But the title stuck. The human who saved the dragons. The human who walked through hell. The human who showed what humanity was really about. Years later, when historians looked back on Earth's early days in the galactic community, they pointed to this moment. Not the first contact. Not the first trade agreement. But this one, act on a frozen moon, because it showed what made humans different, not their technology or their weapons or their numbers, but their willingness to help, their refusal to give up, their stubborn, persistent, sometimes foolish determination to do what was right. Vexthara became an admiral in the Drakari fleet. She commanded entire battle groups, but she never forgot the small human who saved her life. She kept a picture in her quarters. Jack in his white survival suit, standing in the snow with the crashed ships behind him. A reminder that strength came in many forms, that size did not matter as much as heart, that sometimes the smallest person in the room was the most important. She told the story often to young Drakari officers. They listened with wide eyes, finding it hard to believe. But it was true. Every word. On the edge of dying, two chained dragons saw a figure in the snow. It was human, and that human saved them. The galaxy learned a lesson that day. Humans were small, they were soft, they had no natural weapons or armor, but they endured, they adapted, they helped, and that made them extraordinary. The story spread across 1,000 worlds. It became legend. Some details changed in the telling. Some parts were exaggerated, but the core remained true. A human walked through hell to help strangers, not for profit, not for fame, just because it was right. That was humanity. That was what made them special, and the galaxy would never forget.